In a world obsessed with speaking your truth and sharing everything, a hidden power lies waiting, the ancient art of strategic silence. According to communication research, the average person speaks between 7,000 and 16,000 words per day, yet studies show that effective leaders typically speak less during key meetings and decision-making processes. Ever noticed how the loudest person in the room rarely has the most influence? Meanwhile, that quiet colleague somehow gets promoted, that reserved friend has the best relationships, and that calm mentor gets instant respect. What's their secret? They've mastered what most of us haven't, knowing when to stay quiet. But here's where everything you've been taught about communication goes completely wrong. What if this one skill could be the difference between staying stuck where you are and getting the influence you deserve? What if common communication advice is actually holding you back? The most dangerous person in any room isn't the one talking. It's the one who knows when to stay quiet. Niccolò Machiavelli. His name alone makes people think of cunning and clever schemes. But behind the bad reputation was one of history's smartest observers of power. Born in 1469 in Florence, Machiavelli worked as a diplomat during Italy's most troubled times. When the Medici family took power in 1512, he was thrown in prison, tortured, and forced to leave his home. From this painful experience came his famous book, The Prince, a brutally honest guide to getting and keeping power. What Machiavelli discovered about silence is so powerful that it's still used by every world leader, top CEO, and master negotiator alive today. Few experience what you really are. Machiavelli, the prince. Machiavelli understood that power rarely goes to those who talk the most, but to those who master when to speak and when to stay quiet. He saw how history's most effective leaders weren't big talkers, but people who shared information carefully, not because of feelings. Let others speak first, showing their plans, kept their options open by being slightly vague, watched more than they were watched. The vulgar crowd always is taken by appearances, and the world consists chiefly of the vulgar. Machiavelli, the prince. Surprisingly, in his private letters, Machiavelli revealed he learned more from watching his enemies' silence than from anything they ever said. His insights feel almost like they were written for today's oversharing world. That's why his centuries-old wisdom might be your secret weapon in today's world. We face a growing problem in modern society. The pressure to constantly share our thoughts, feelings, and experiences has created harmful patterns of behavior. Haven't you felt exhausted trying to keep up with all the sharing that's expected of you? Ever been in one of these situations? That Zoom meeting where someone won't stop talking while others tune out. The Instagram friend who posts every meal, workout, and mood change. The coworker who writes every thought in the team chat. The date who tells their entire life story in the first hour. These behaviors don't create connection, they kill it. According to a groundbreaking Harvard Business School study by Dr. Leslie Perlow, leaders who exercise discretion in what they share are perceived as 27% more capable than those who practice excessive transparency. The study found the most respected professionals aren't those who share everything. They're selective about what they reveal. Wait, but doesn't being authentic mean sharing everything? That's exactly what they want you to believe. Think this is just a work issue. Neuroscience research demonstrates that constant notifications and the pressure to respond immediately keeps your prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning and decision-making, from functioning optimally. Every quick response reinforces neural pathways associated with reactivity rather than deliberation. In a world that profits from your sharing, holding back is revolutionary. The truth? While social media encourages constant disclosure, those who practice thoughtful restraint often gain significant advantages in negotiations, leadership, and personal influence. I'm about to reveal Machiavelli's 3 types of strategic silence that almost nobody understands, but the few who do wield extraordinary influence. Let's explore the 3 distinct forms of silence that Machiavelli identified as the foundation of true power. Type 1. Information gathering silence. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. Machiavelli, the prince. In simple terms, the fool speaks immediately and learns nothing. The wise person stays quiet, learns everything, then acts decisively. This is about creating what experts call information asymmetry. You gather intelligence while revealing nothing about your own position. And here's the part no one tells you. In every conversation, someone is gaining information advantage. If it's not you, guess what? You're the one being studied. Machiavelli observed that effective leaders never revealed all their intentions or knowledge. Instead, they appeared transparent while carefully controlling what information was actually shared. Ever wondered why professional negotiators never start by revealing their best offer? It's because they understand that information is valuable when strategically revealed. Try this tomorrow. In your next conversation, ask 3 questions before making a single statement. Watch how much people reveal when you simply stay quiet and listen. Type 2. Authority-building silence. A prince must imitate the fox and the lion, for the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. Machiavelli, the prince. This second type of silence is how people with average abilities often rise to positions of extraordinary influence. Humans naturally fill information gaps with assumptions that often favor the silent party. When a leader speaks selectively, addressing only significant issues rather than every minor concern, their words carry greater weight. This explains why the most powerful figures in any room typically speak less but more deliberately than those beneath them. The nervous junior executive overtalks. The CEO makes brief, decisive statements. The most powerful response is the one you didn't send immediately. Try this today. The next time someone asks for your opinion on something important, simply say, "Let me think about that for a moment." Then count to 5 before responding. That tiny pause transforms how others perceive your words. Type 3. Strategic ambiguity. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. Machiavelli, the prince. Here's where everything you've been taught about clear communication completely falls apart. Clarity is a commitment. Vagueness is an opportunity. Here's what Machiavelli understood. When you state exactly what you want or think, you close doors. Keeping your intentions partially hidden preserves your options. Did you know that when Steve Jobs first revealed the iPhone, he intentionally kept his description vague? He called it a revolutionary mobile phone, a widescreen iPod, and a breakthrough internet device. Notice what he didn't do: list specific features or commit to particular capabilities. This deliberate approach allowed people to imagine their perfect device while giving Apple flexibility. Negotiation research demonstrates that maintaining some ambiguity during initial proposals often leads to more favorable outcomes than immediately stating your exact position. The psychological power of silence. In the next 2 minutes, I'll reveal the psychological triggers that make silence more persuasive than even the most carefully chosen words. Beyond its tactical advantages, Machiavellian silence creates 3 powerful psychological effects that speech simply cannot achieve. First, silence creates what psychologists call projection spaces. When you remain silent at strategic moments, people naturally fill that void with their own thoughts, fears, hopes, and assumptions. Men are so simple of mind and so much dominated by their immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions. Machiavelli, the prince. And this is exactly why most people feel uncomfortable in silence. They're unconsciously aware they might reveal more than they intend to. Second, silence establishes dominance in communication. The person who speaks first, most frequently, or at greatest length, subtly positions themselves as seeking approval. The person who speaks less, more selectively, or only after others have committed implicitly claims the judge's role. This explains why in job interviews, candidates who ask thoughtful questions often perform better than those who talk more about themselves. Third, silence creates mystique that amplifies perceived power. As Machiavelli observed, men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because it belongs to everybody to see, too few to feel. Machiavelli, the prince. Have you noticed how the people you can't quite figure out are often the ones who intrigue you most? What cannot be fully seen or understood often appears more formidable than what is completely exposed. The person who reveals everything becomes ordinary. The person who reveals selectively retains an element of mystery that magnifies their perceived capabilities. Ethical boundaries. Let's address an important question. What's the difference between strategic communication and manipulation? Getting this wrong could destroy your relationships, while getting it right could transform them. The key distinction lies in your intent and the impact on others. Strategic communication involves thoughtful choices about what you share to achieve legitimate goals. Manipulation, by contrast, deliberately misleads others against their interests. Consider these ethical guidelines. 1. The relationship test. Would this approach strengthen or weaken trust if the other person understood your strategy? 2. The disclosure test. Are you withholding information others have a legitimate right to know? 3. The intent test. Is your primary goal to protect legitimate interests or to gain unfair advantage? Machiavelli's writings are often misinterpreted as endorsing unethical behavior. A closer reading reveals he was primarily describing how power functions, not necessarily advocating dishonesty. The most effective leaders combine strategic communication with genuine integrity. They're selective about what they share, but honest in what they do reveal. Here are 5 techniques you can use in your very next conversation to instantly gain an advantage. The 3-to-1 question ratio. Ask 3 questions before making one statement. This creates information asymmetry that immediately puts you in a position of advantage. The 5-second. Before responding to any important message, count to 5. For truly crucial decisions, wait 24 hours. The power of last position. In group discussions, speak last whenever possible. Observe how others commit to positions, then deliver your perspective with the benefit of complete information. The selective revelation. Decide before any important interaction. What information will you freely share? What will you share only if asked directly? And what will you keep private? The intentional mystery. Deliberately leave aspects of your capabilities, interests, or achievements undisclosed. Let people discover these things gradually, rather than announcing them. Most people will never implement even one of these techniques, but that's exactly why they'll work so powerfully for you. The ultimate irony of Machiavelli's strategy: the most masterful practitioners of strategic silence remain largely unrecognized. We notice the loud, the expressive, the transparent, while the masters of silence achieve their objectives without drawing attention to their methods. Let me leave you with one final insight from Machiavelli himself. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Machiavelli, the Prince. This captures the essence of strategic silence. You need the fox's ability to observe and learn, and the lion's power to act decisively when the moment is right. In your daily life, you now have a choice. Continue sharing everything, or practice the thoughtful restraint that has served history's greatest leaders. The most influential person in any room isn't the one speaking loudest. It's the one who knows when to stay quiet. Master strategic silence. Observe more. Reveal less. Win. If you found this valuable, hit that like button right now. It helps more than you know. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss next week's video. Leave a comment sharing your own experience with strategic silence. I read every single one.